Hi everyone, my name is Nico Renner. I'm working for Roche in Germany. And I think it's pretty clear throughout these 2 days that Pharma wants to change. We're clear on why and what we want to do. The question is just, why don't we? And I'm going to speak about how fish can help us achieve what we want. How can we change? Just a quick set the scenes. So my experience is basically based in the affiliate at Roche. So I've spent 3 years in the digital sector, customer engagement, but also patient engagement. And the project I will refer to a lot is called Digital Business Card. So sounds boring, right? Business card. It goes beyond that. It is really a digital touch point for our customer-facing colleagues to talk to HCPs, but hyper-personalize these touch points. And what is important to understand is that our colleagues in the field are in charge and in the driver's seat of this solution. So they've been involved in the entire process. We started this in 2021 as an idea with 10 people and elaborated, and we changed a lot. So our friend from Pitch, who's also been involved integrating other channels to this solution, can tell you how often we changed our minds due to changed pain points of HCPs with regards to communication. And in 2022, we managed to launch 3 products in 3 indications supported by this tool. The KPIs have been outstanding. We've been really happy with that, and also the feedback from customers, which was actually outstanding, like our 8.5 out of 10 in an advisory board. That's, I think, quite good. And also, and that's a fun thing to say here in Vienna, actually other affiliates have been interested then afterwards, Vienna being the first one which we scaled it to. And in 2023, we managed to scale the solution to more than 20 countries. And what you really should remember about this slide is that actually it's an engagement tool, and we managed to come from 10 test users, and now as we speak, we have 500 active users across the globe, active users. And they have been involved in this process. That's important to understand. So this is just an example, right? But what is CX? What is digital tools? What are we going to do with this? In the end, it should be simple, right? And we all agree that this is the change we want to have. So first of all, and that's a prerequisite, you go talk to your customers. What are the pain points they feel, and how can you solve them? Then you dive to the ground of the ocean if you want, so find some ideas, polish them, and go talk to your colleagues. Might it be marketeers or the customer-facing colleagues? You talk with them, excite them about why this is a solution and why they should do this, and come on that journey with you. And in the end, they deliver to the customers. Might it be a patient or an HCP? Doesn't really matter. And everybody's happy because we, changed. For some reason, that's not so easy, it seems like, because we're talking a lot about change, but we don't change that quickly. And the question is, why is this very last step the problem? And I do believe what we do forget about is that in this very last step, Anna Maria, you said it, ideas are easy. Execution is the problem. We just don't maintain and sustainably have ideas and bring them, to customers. And I do believe this is because we forget about our people. And this is where we can learn from fish. So imagine these fish schools, and by the way, that's a technical term I learned on Wikipedia. Fish schools are these giant groups of individuals, like 500 or more, and you couldn't tell 500 meters away from them whether it's one organism or 500 individuals, because they are just so well coordinated. So you have the picture in your mind, right? The group moving through the ocean, and it's just so smooth and elegant. How do they do that? Well, there are 3 principles. So first of all, a fish decides quickly, because if there's a shark popping up, they need to move, otherwise they get eaten. So either left or right, just stay in the middle is not a solution. Secondly, the shark might come from the right-hand side of the group. So therefore, the right-hand side individual is going to tell his folks, hey, there's a shark coming, we need to move, guys. And then they decide in a matter of seconds. And as a matter of fact, the last point, this right-hand side individual will decide today, but tomorrow it's going to be the left-hand side individual that sees an opportunity or a threat. And everybody in this fish school can be a leader. There's no hierarchy, there's no born leader whatsoever, but it really depends on the context. And this will probably be the moment where you think, like, why is this guy speaking about fish, and what does that have to do with me, right? So, Daria, I'm sorry, I'm going to translate it into pharma buzzwords. Maybe you heard of those. Agility, I think Arantxa touched upon that, and then there's the central decision-making when it comes to headquarters and affiliates, and my personal favorite, self-empowered teams. Everybody can be a leader. We all heard those, and we all understand them, right? But my question is just, why can fish change, but we can't? So here are my takes from the Digital Business Card Project and others. The first point is the worst decision is making none. Digital opportunities, and especially nowadays, they appear today, and if you decide in half a year, it's going to be too late, so don't bother. Make decisions quickly. You might fail, no problem. The second point, who decides? So in the Digital Business Card Project, we had 30 sales reps being involved, but 2 actually made the decisions with us. So we sat with like 4 individuals, and we decided, do we want to launch this product with the support of digital business cards? And they would go, yes. Why? Because they've been involved from the very beginning, and they just wanted to know whether it works as well. So these 2 actually decided as representatives of the entire stakeholder group. And now this is a crucial point. Imagine the swarm again. So there's these 2 individuals. They see an opportunity. They would go left, and then the rest of the swarm would just go straight. What you need to do is be transparent about your decisions, and also it doesn't make sense to deliver the message as a digital lead in that point. You have your colleagues in the field. Let them explain to their peers why this makes sense, what's the why behind the decision, and make it transparent to the entire fish school so that they move all together. And sometimes all it takes is 2 fish deciding to follow. So this is on a strategic level what we can learn from fish, but there's more to that. Because as I said, ideas are easy, right? It's execution. So maybe this sounds familiar, and it happens to me all the time. I present an idea, and I'm all enthusiastic about it, and everybody goes in the meeting, wow, brilliant, let's do this. Yeah, value-based healthcare, go for it. Amazing. Same people, 2 weeks after, same meeting. Yeah, my client doesn't like digital. And also, and that's my favorite one because it really can be applied to wherever you live, you're special, everybody's special, right? So your country is special, standardized solutions don't really work for me, my indication is special, maybe my role, maybe it's just me being a special snowflake, but anyways, I need something customized, so please come again once you elaborated on that. And what happens in these first 2 weeks? Why do people change their minds and hop off the train? Coming back to fish, and I'd really like you to feel that, I have a question for you. Raise your hand if you ever ate a worm. Raise your hand if you ever ate a worm in Vienna. Let's put it that way. Here, it's not really considered delicious, so you probably wouldn't find it in a restaurant. But raise your hand if you would bring a worm if I'd ask you to go on a fishing trip with me. Who would use a worm? Fish like worms, right? So you would bring a fish as a bait. Digital transformation in any kind is not about you, it's not about me, it's about the people who deliver the solutions and the ones who experience it. So I don't care whether I like a worm. The worm is a bait, an incentive for the people I work with, and everybody has different incentives. And I'm sorry to say, but in the pharmaceutical company, obviously the greatest incentive of all is to really make an impact on patient lives. That's what we stand up for in the morning. I agree, and I don't want to challenge this, but I also claim that every single individual in this room has own incentives as well. Might it be monetary, because you want to spend quality time with your family? Might it be because, due to automation, you can spend time with your kids, Dario? And my favorite one is reputation. Sorry to say that out loud, but I had actually a colleague joining the Digital Business Card Project, not because he was excited or believed in it. He literally told me, Nico, I don't believe in this, but I need digital in my CV. I was like, okay, well, sounded odd in the beginning, but this guy committed to the project. He's now one of the greatest ambassadors, and he actually pushed the first product launch because he wanted the reputation. And did I care? No. We had a great project and a great time together. So here's a few things. First of all, don't go for a single bait and personalize them. Not everybody, likes worms. Maybe it's apples, I don't know. And don't just come up with one single bait. Secondly, also a good one, just don't try to convince everyone in the very beginning. There's early adopters, and it's fine to just move with 20% of the swarm, you know? The 2 individuals that move, not the entire swarm. Just don't waste time on that. And thirdly, and that's also reality, you can't go for every bait. You can't give every bait. If somebody asks me, can you double my salary to join this project, I'd probably go like, difficult. So there are baits you can't accept and you can't give because you would disbalance the team. Know your limits. And last but not least, and that's also something we touched upon, upper management, buy-in from leadership. Yes, that's a nice add-on, but it won't get you anywhere. The second you turn around and nobody's watching, people will go back to what they're used to. So if you don't intrinsically convince them, they're of the same opinion, and the second you turn around, they'll do whatever they want to. So I like upper management, I like their buy-in, but it's certainly not sustainable if you only go top-down. So now we learned how fish schools work and can help us in change management and decision-making. We know how to incentivize our peers, but how do we now actually bring this solution to life, whatever solution? So think of this as spheres. The first thing you do is you go talk to your customer, what's your pain points, how can we solve it? And this is a validated idea, that's how I call it at least. And this is the sweet spot where you should go because everything else doesn't make sense. And then the next step is excite your fish school about it. Find these 2 individuals who are willing to move with you, the early adopters, and that's the yellow space here in the middle. And in my case, that was like 10 people out of 400. Not a huge deal, actually. And out of these 10 people, actually 2 had a success to tell. So 10 people tested the solution, only 2 had a success. Failure, right? Stop the project, try something else. What we did actually, and this is what I call the evidence hurdle, and Anna Maria, that comes back to your questions, like somebody will come around the corner and ask, what's the business case behind this? What's the numbers? Can you prove that this worked? And I'd go, no, I had the idea yesterday, how would I have numbers now? I have estimations, I have a gut feeling, but certainly don't have evidence. So what you do now is, you can't deliver numbers, but you can deliver success stories. These 2 people had a touch point with the HCP, they've been excited about it, and they actually scheduled with this digital appointment scheduling, they schedule a meeting with them digitally. How cool is that? This will lead to a movement when it comes to exciting and attracting more people to your cause, but it also helps you elaborate on the idea. So you will come up with new ideas because you get feedback and you test and so on. So the more you push these circles together, the more success stories you have. And let me tell you what, as soon as you're close enough, at some point success stories turn into data, statistically relevant data, and then it's easy. This is like, then you can enjoy life, and everybody's happy. But to get here, it really needs, excitement for your colleagues as well. We're always just talking about customer centricity, but most of the people forget about how to create a digital momentum in their group, actually. And maybe you noticed that the customer didn't move in these slides, because of course the customer is in the center of whatever we do. That's a prerequisite, that's nothing new. But my claim is, and that's maybe a stupid thing to say at a congress about customer centricity, but I don't believe that customer centricity is enough. It's great, and that's what we should do, but it's certainly not enough. We're thinking about people and excitement when it comes to customers, might it be patients or HCPs, but we forget about our people. So I'd say if you really want to make a difference, if you really want to make a change, then think of your people as if they would be your customers and know them and work together with them, because that's how you sustainably make a change, because digital is never about technology, it's about people. I spoke a lot about early adopters, so this is a cool thing called QR codes. The ones of you who would like to try out this new technology, I'd be super interested in keeping this conversation going and getting feedback on what you thought of those ideas. And with that being said, thank you for your attention.
Thank you for your presentation. I especially liked your idea about the fish schools and also the honest point that you brought about internal motivators and drivers of the colleagues. You mentioned that consistency is really important, so then people don't move back to their habitual way of working. And what instruments did you put in place to ensure, this consistency and adherence to the technology and scale to the solution, and then scale it up?
So when it comes to the initial implementation, and maybe would like to hear some fancy ideas, but one stupid thing I did was we had this chat group, and I knew that sometimes questions have been raised, and I knew that people could answer them because they had experiences that they didn't like to. So I would go one-on-one with this person, like, hey, isn't that a question you could answer? Like, yeah, sure, I have this experience, so why don't you answer in the chat? And as stupid as it sounds, this created a momentum. This, connected people together. And at some point, we went through a tipping point where people actually shared what their experiences, what their challenges were. And they, there's always this thing, you're a digital lead and there's field force. And we used to have a lot of, miscommunication in that. But at some point, I was like, we've been one fish school. And I think this is really about people. I have no template for this, but this, one-on-ones, really asking, hey, what do you think about this? But really, not like on a political filter whatsoever, like, what do you really think about this? But, I mean, you also need to stand negative feedback at that point, that's clear. So this is one thing. And then also, I think that falls into this, you need to, we're talking about marketing in the markets, but it's also about internal marketing. So you need to really ring a bell. You need to visualize. So with one example is we had this digital appointment scheduling. And what it really was sending a link, maybe Calendly, the Google scheduling, these kind of systems. What we used was a ping pong picture. Because we described this, have you time on Friday? Oh no, how's Monday? Oh no, well, my kid, da 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 da. So you go back and forth to find a meeting. And with these solutions, there was no email ping pong anymore. And we created this slang, and this just went through the organization. And when it came to ping pong, everybody knew what we were talking about. If I would have explained why we do this all the time, this, I think, wouldn't have been as effective. Does that answer the question?
Thank you, Nico. That was great. Trying to work out what kind of fish I am, but aside from that, I'm curious because we talked a lot about the positives in all the presentations and things, but failing fast is also what tech does well. So at some point, some ideas don't work, and you have to make that decision around, okay, we'll move on, we'll go somewhere else. How do you fit that into that philosophy? Because I do love the forward momentum of it, but there has to be some kind of self-certifying feedback, right, on whether this is still worth pursuing.
So let me use the fish metaphor again. You have a shark coming from the right, so you move left. Then another thread would be here, and you just, go that direction. In the fish metaphor, the point is just you need to decide quickly, you need to learn fast. And with the Digital Business Card project, we had several things we implemented that didn't work. Well, we also implemented things that nobody ever used. So I think that is also just this try-out mentality that you need to stress. And I can tell that if you're used to delivering postcards or flyers whatsoever, which you can't measure, it hurts if the first time you see using a digital tool which is measurable, that not every 100 messages are read, actually. So this is also a bit of expectation management for people themselves, because it hurts to see the numbers sometimes. That's, I think, also part of the personal dialogue, and also knowing which incentives does this person have, and how can I, help shifting the expectation in that regard to that failure is okay. I think we have 1 minute more. Do you get a provision on that? Good.
Thank you so much for your presentation. I really loved it. It was really nice to see many people tried worms. I'll make sure to wash my hands after I say hi. So, no, I mean, look, I really like the analogy of the fish. And I think there was a strong message there in terms of, decentralized, in terms of, going smoothly, seamlessly. But personally, and correct me if I'm wrong, I felt that at some instance there needs to be this innovative fish or disruptive fish that goes outside, uses bait, that probably non-poisonous or hazardous bait. Yeah, So it reminded me of Nemo. and takes with her like a few people to try and do something and then build maybe another school of fish that now is moving in parallel to that initial school of fish. So I think there were like two strong messages there. One is how do we move together, and the other one is how we sometimes we need to disconnect. And then at the end you finished with focusing on the people, not on digital. So if you want to combine these three and maybe just give me one takeaway message from your session, like one thing we should go back and do or think of combining these three, what would you say?
Think of your people. Talk to your people, know what they want, know what they feel. Good, thank you.